supposed to be here. You know, years ago, I would have never thought that I would be here today sharing my story in front of so many people and to actually find the courage and strength to do so. Now, I'm going to tell you a little bit about my background. I am half French and half Italian. English is actually my third language, so I'm going to ask you to bear with me throughout my talk. Now, the real question is, how did I get here? Well, I still don't understand or appreciate what my story is so interesting to others. You know what? In many ways, my story is no different than any of you that are diagnosed with cancer. Except for me, from the moment that I discovered that I had a lump, I took my journey as an opportunity to learn about myself and to discover my desire of helping others and to inspire them. And that was my first gift of so many. Now, I believe that I got cancer for a reason. I was the chosen one for some reason. And that I was on a mission to discover why. Now, I also learned that in every challenge that comes your way, there is always an opportunity waiting for you. Now, 5.5 years ago, I was blessed with breast cancer. And I say blessed because it was truly a blessing for me. Cancer opened doors and took me places that I would have never been without it. Now, I was waiting for my biopsy report. I was sitting in a car, alone, driving to go pick up my kids at school, when suddenly my phone rings, and it's the nurse from my doctor's office telling me that I was just diagnosed with cancer. Now, I was just driving by myself, not knowing what to do, what to think. The first thing that comes to my mind was my family, my kids, my husband, my parents. How in the world do you tell your parents that you have cancer? I started to cry. I was crying so hard that I couldn't even see in front of me. And I realized I was crying because I was afraid. I was afraid for my loved ones. I was afraid on how they would actually take my news, how they would react when I actually tell them that I have cancer. I did not even want to call my husband at work that day. I wanted him to finish his day in peace, because I knew after that day that our life was changed forever. So once I got home, my husband was there, and I then told him that I finally got the news and I was diagnosed with cancer. And that the first thing I wanted to do was to actually tell my kids. So the first thing we did, we gathered the kids together. My eldest, 16, Andrew. My daughter was 15, Lori. My little munchkin was only 9 years old, Jeremy. They were just staring at me with looks of terrors in their face, not knowing what their mom was actually going to tell them. And I had to find the courage and the strength to actually tell them. I took one deep breath, and I looked at them and I said, Mommy has a lump on her breast, and it has to be removed. Now, my daughter took a look at me and said, Mommy, is it cancer? And I said, yes, it is. My eldest son just looked at her and said, Lori, don't worry. Mommy will have the lump removed, she'll have surgery, and she'll be fine. I said to my daughter, yes, that's exactly it. But she then turned to my eldest son and said, Andrew, do you know what cancer is? cancers are bad cells that are eating all the good cells, and mommy could die. Now, I'm not sure if any of you kids ever told you that, but when she told me that, I was holding back my tears. I did not know what to say, what to do. But I knew from that moment on that I had to be the pillar of strength and courage for my family. And the only thing that came out of my mouth was a promise. I actually promised my kids right there that I was not going to die, that mommy was going to be fine, and that mommy was always going to be there for them. And for some reason, that was quite a promise. After that, I thought back. For someone that was just diagnosed with a stage 2 hormonal aggressive breast cancer and had spread to 3 of their lymph nodes. And after I had told them, I felt relieved. I felt cured for some reason. I felt that the burden was off my shoulder and I was ready to attack my journey. Now from there, I didn't even start my chemo treatment yet. I didn't even start my surgery. But the first thing I did was I signed up for a 32 miles walk for fundraising money for breast cancer. That walk would be for 2 days and would actually be right in the middle of my chemo treatment. I was tired on some days and I had lost all my hair. But you know what? I persevered and I finished that walk. 32 miles with chemo treatment. And without even intending to do so, I had inspired 18 other women to join my butterfly teams. And together we raised $114,000. Now half of that money was raised by myself, so you could see that focusing on fundraising throughout my cancer took my mind off my treatment. And because of my energy, the people that were in charge of the event actually asked me to be the spokesperson of the opening and closing ceremonies. I was touched. I was honored. But quite frankly, I did not understand why all this attention was given to me. Now from there, I started to mentor cancer patients. I started to tell my story in different venues. I still remember that first talk that I did. I stood there afterwards, staring at hundreds of people. They were clapping, cheering, crying. And I thought that it was so amazing how a simple act of sharing my story could be so moving to others. I was finally gaining a sense of purpose. And from there, I had all my friends and family. They were just supporting me. I was overwhelmed with their support. But I learned that I was valuable to them. I learned self-respect. And if you have self-respect, you can then respect others. It was amazing on how just finding out the respect that you could get from people, how you could relate to them. And where I was critical before, I became compassionate and understanding. I had become a member of a community where sharing positive messages, and I was leading by example. Now, cancer actually taught me how to receive. I was always very bad at being in the receiving end. I could never receive a gift. Made me feel uncomfortable. But giving, I sure knew how it went. I love giving. I love to see that smile on that person's face when I give them a little gift, or it could just be a word of wisdom. I could see how happy they are. So I thought that if I'm pushing their giving away, I'm actually denying them of that joy that I feel when I give something. So actually receiving took a whole new meaning for myself. And from there, I learned the power of community. And the more I shared my story, the more they gave, the more I actually was giving back to them. Now, letting go and trust is something that I think we all could learn from. Before my cancer, I could never trust anyone. I always thought that people had motives. So my first chemo treatment, this is where the magic happened. I was going into the unknown. I was going somewhere where I had no control over how my treatment were actually going to take place or how I would react to this treatment. And let me tell you, for someone like me that's a little bit of a control freak, it's quite scary. But as my nurse started to tell me and explain to me the possible side effect of my chemo treatment and injecting me with this powerful chemical to try and save my life, I started to let go. I had no choice. I started to trust her. And from there, I learned that fear comes from a lack of knowledge. And if you want to eliminate your fear, you then gain your knowledge. I also learned new and positive aspects about myself. And then I was able to see the same in others. Now, my relationship with my husband at the time that I was being diagnosed with breast cancer was a little bit on the rocky side. And because cancer gave me courage and it made me feel more confident, I was able to communicate to him what I really needed from him. Something I was not able to do in the past. And I thought that whenever the confidence that, I was building, I thought that life had given me a second chance. And there was now or never for me to turn it around. And because I was open to communication with my husband, I was open to have that, to communicate. Today, my husband and I are a great team and full of love and passion. Now, cancer taught me how to be more confident, how to trust, how to let go, how to understand people. And because of all that, I was able to realize some of my dreams because of the confidence, like being here tonight, speaking in public, something I always wanted to do. I still can't believe I'm here. And fundraising for a cause bigger than myself, being in a newspaper, on radio. And I'm actually writing a book that will be entitled The Joy of Cancer. Some people may not like the title, The Joy of Cancer, but honestly, cancer for me was truly a joy. I know I've came a long way, but I believe my journey is far from being over. My journey of self-discovery was truly where I found myself. I learned that everyone has something to offer. Just have to look for it. Today, I feel free. I feel like a butterfly, like reaching out to every single person and make a difference in people's life. I hope that each and every one of you could find your inner strength and the potential that's lying inside you. And then go out there, take that gift, and share it with the world. Because in every challenges, there's always a greater opportunity. And look for the hidden opportunity in problems. Don't look for the problem. And of course, one does not have to have cancer to discover what I discover. And today, I am running free. Thank you.